Fox News decided to do some more fear-mongering. This time it was on the issue of gun reform. So they're going to speak to Dana Loesch, I don't know how to pronounce it, but something like that. They're going to speak to Dana, who's a spokesperson for the NRA here. Let's see what she says.
Meanwhile, Democrats won back the House in the midterm elections, wasted no time in declaring their top priority. It is gun control.
This will be a priority for us in the next Congress. Common sense background checks to prevent guns going into wrong hands.
We will certainly pursue sensible gun control legislation as one of our priorities.
We have a chance to say loud and clear that the gun lobby is no longer in charge of our gun laws.
Here to react is NRA spokesperson Dana Loesch. Dana, what is your reaction when you hear all of that?
Oh, well, Ainsley and Brian and Steve, good morning to you all. When I hear Nancy Pelosi say that, I hear someone who's talking about the failed gun control laws in her state, and she discusses expanding them nationally as though that's going to be the magical ingredient that makes those work. And as we've seen time and time again, it doesn't, in fact, help. It doesn't make it work. And they can talk about pushing forward anti-gun legislation in the House, but let's think of all of the 2A victories that law-abiding gun owners won just in the past elections, and law-abiding gun owners spent significantly less dollars than the anti-gun movement, which is mostly funded by people like Michael Bloomberg. I mean, we don't have, a really rich sugar daddy, for the lack of a better way to put it, to go and fund this. We're just millions of people who want to make sure that our rights to self-defense, our Second Amendment rights, are protected. And so as a result of that, when you look at the results, for instance, the House candidates, 80% of NRA-endorsed House candidates won those races. 85% of NRA-endorsed candidates won races statewide, and we added and extended that Senate majority. So, we have divided houses, divided state legislatures across the country, and I think it goes to show that Nancy Pelosi really doesn't, she's really not in tune with what Americans want.
She's really not in tune with what Americans want. Well, listen, for Nancy Pelosi, I'd agree with you on the overwhelming majority of issues. She's not in tune with what Americans want. This is a rare issue where she is. When it comes to gun reform, she, of course, is. It's not me speaking. That's the polling data speaking. Now, they go on in that clip with Dana where Steve Ducey even brings up, hey, we did a Fox News poll on Election Day, and 61% of Americans want to see stronger gun laws. And they asked her to respond to that, and she was like, some bullshit claptrap talking point that made no sense. But let's dissect a little bit of what she said here. She said 85% of the NRA-endorsed candidates won. Okay, well, they only endorse in super safe districts where they are virtually certain they're going to win. That's not like, there's the same trick that the Democratic Party does, like the DCCC, the DCCC does. They go, look, these left-wing revolutionaries, man, these Our Revolution, Justice Democrats, DSA. These guys, when you put them all together, only 41% of their candidates won. That's not even 50%. That's not even 50%. Yeah, but number one, we were at a permanent monetary disadvantage. Because we don't take corporate PAC money. Number two, we were taking risks. Whereas DCCC is like, we won in 90% of our races. Because you went to the fucking safest districts where it was guaranteed to win, and you're like, we won. That's not fucking impressive. In the same way that when the NRA goes to the deepest red seat in Mississippi and endorses the candidate, it's not like, oh man, yeah, they made a point there. No, they didn't. Okay, now furthermore, the argument at the beginning is, well, hey man, California has strict gun laws. Didn't stop this shooting from happening in California. Checkmate, you dumb libs. It's not like if you put these laws into place at a federal level that all of a sudden we actually will reduce gun violence. Except the data shows that's factually wrong. In fact, take a look at this. The NRA argued after the Thousand Oaks shooting. They said it proves that California's gun laws don't work. They're wrong. California toughened gun laws in the 90s. Gun violence is down 56%. California has one of the lowest gun death rates. California laws could have prevented killer from getting more and deadlier guns, and no law will prevent all crime. That doesn't mean you get rid of the laws. Should we get rid of the murder law because the murderers aren't going to follow the law anyway, so maybe we should get rid of the law on murder. No, as a matter of principle, certain things should be illegal. And it, by the way, it will disincentivize, and that's what the statistics show. They love to point to anecdotal cases. Well, there are some places with stricter gun laws, and they have had a mass shooting. But we have way more than them, and those laws do impact that. Now, that on its own is not an argument in favor of doing these laws, but you know what is? That we live in a constitutional republic and a representative democracy, and that it's what the people want. Now, they're not talking about banning all guns, which I think would be unconstitutional, but look at what the people want. And Dana Loesch acts like this is not the case, and they don't want this, and she's dead wrong. So this was a poll after Newtown, I think. But any poll will show you these exact same results with these specific gun reform measures. Here we go. A law which would require background checks before people, including gun dealers, could buy guns at gun shows. So do a universal background check, close the gun show loophole. 84% of the country wants to do that. A law to prevent people with mental illness from purchasing guns. 78% of the country wants to do that. Creating a federal government database to track all gun sales. 59% of the country wants to do that. Banning military-style assault weapons. 57% of the country wants to do that. Banning ammunition clips that can hold more than 10 bullets. 53% of the country wants to do that. So listen, I've said this before. I'm a moderate on the issue of guns. I don't want to ban all guns. I think if you are a law-abiding citizen, we should do our best to allow you to have the ability to have a gun. But you need to have rules, you need to have regulations, and you need to make sure you enforce them and abide by them. And then, yes, that will lead to a tick down in the overall gun death statistics. And these things are totally not unreasonable. These things are perfectly reasonable, which is why the overwhelming majority of Americans back them. This is something that she would not admit, and she's dead wrong. She's a propagandist for the NRA, and that's crystal clear.